Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Sports Week. I'm your host Dan Tracy. I'm joined by my attacking partner Tolu Shitadi. Tolu, how are you, my friend?
Very good, Dan Nugo. Getting ready to attack today's episode as always.
Top man, there's plenty to talk about. We're going to go to Tyneside as Newcastle play host to Chelsea on Saturday. Newcastle, of course, lost that derby on Sunday in quite bizarre fashion due to Nick Walter-Martin's own goal. They spend all that money on a big forward and he scores in the wrong net. Eddie Howe, after the game, said we'll make things right, but is the damage done? What do you make of what will happen at St James's Park on Saturday?
The derby was as I thought it would be. It was very feisty. I think Eddie Howe would probably have been very, very disappointed because the energy that you usually note with Newcastle almost went the other way. Felt like Sunderland were Newcastle. They chased every ball. And you could understand that. And I said last time out that Regis Lebris has got this on that Sunderland side playing really well, and they were really up for it. And the fact that Newcastle had European exertions the previous midweek also didn't help their fight. So they couldn't really, in a physical way, really turn up in that fixture. But I think it's different this time. I think with Chelsea, it's a different Nick. Newcastle have a good record at home. It has to be said. They won 7 of their last 8 home matches in all competitions at home. And they've also, quite interestingly, won their last 4 home matches against Chelsea, which also included beating them in the EFL Cup on their way to winning the title last year. So they have a pretty good record against Chelsea at home, which could be quite pivotal. They have a good record against Chelsea at home. And also they've been playing really well at home also in the Premier League. You look at some of the games that they've lost at home. You look at the game earlier in the season where Liverpool went as poor as they are now. They lost, they played with 10 men and almost got the point against Liverpool in that game. And then we all remember Gabriel heading on from a corner kick as Arsenal won late on. And you look at those two teams in terms of the quality that they had at the time, and you look at this Chelsea side and what they have. I just feel like Newcastle could be, especially the fact that they're reeling from that time where a derby defeat. I don't think Newcastle can put 2 poor performances together. I don't think it's the way that they operate. And because it's going to be really bouncing at St. James's Park. Chelsea don't have a great record there. And also on the road, Chelsea haven't been that great. Saw them at Cardiff, even though it was a much changed Chelsea team. They did struggle a bit before beating the League One side, Cardiff 3-1. And then the last time out, we saw them lose to Atalanta in the Champions League. They drew 0-0 at Bournemouth, and everyone remembers how they got bullied by Leeds away from home. And that Leeds game is going to be very similar to how Newcastle play at home. So the intensity could be a bit of an issue for Chelsea, and that's probably what they have to watch out for when they take on this Newcastle United team.
Well, you mentioned Chelsea. They did pick up a league win over Everton at the weekend, and it wasn't the performance which was of major interest. It was the comments after the game from Enzo Maresca, where he said that before that game, it was the worst 48 hours of his stint at Stamford Bridge. What do you make of those comments? Is he going to be in for more anguish at the weekend?
Look, I feel really sorry for Enzo Maresca. I think the fact that he was former as one of the assistants for Pep Guardiola at City, and then his real claim to fame, if I can put it that way, was winning the championship title with Leicester City. So I think for all the kind of managers that Chelsea have had in the past, they've had they've had Carlo Ancelotti, they've had Antonio Conte, they've had Luis Felipe Scolari, they've had Jose Mourinho. He doesn't just fit into, he doesn't fit basically as a regular Chelsea manager, especially with the kind of money they're spending and the amount, kind of talent they're putting together at the team. You almost felt like he is almost like a stopgap. And I really hate to say that. It looked like he's someone who was just brought in to maybe steady the ship a bit and then get the real manager to come in. And I think it's a real disservice to him. He won the Club World Cup last year and won the Conference League. Everyone talks about the fact that those two, the Conference League was very easy for Chelsea to win, but that's the competition they were in. And he did the best and actually won it. And as long as the speculation about Oliver Gardner at Crystal Palace continues, I think Enzo Maresca and Ruben Amorim will be endangered species in the Premier League. But I feel really sorry for him. I think he's not getting the support that he thinks he should be getting from the guys at board level. You can see how United's owners have been very vocal about how much they think about Ruben Amorim, even though he's been under a lot of pressure lately. So I feel sorry for him, it has to be said. And I heard his comments after the Cardiff game where he refused to talk about those comments he made previously. But I think he's a very smart guy. I think he came out and talked about it, but didn't give a lot of detail. But I think he's not going to get that support from Chelsea. He's always going to be seen as the man who won the championship with Leicester and really doesn't have experience of winning big trophies. Even though the Club World Cup is a big trophy, I don't think that will count in the grand scheme of things. I feel really sorry for him. Those comments, I think, came after a very frustrating time. Remember, at that time, they'd lost to Leeds, they'd drawn against Bournemouth, they'd lost at Atalanta. And so I think he was feeling the pressure a bit. But I think once you win games, there's a difference with how everything feels. And I think if he can get a win against Newcastle, I don't think he'll be talking about that anymore.
Well, Chelsea seems to be in something of a holding pattern at the moment, but what will the pattern of play be at the weekend? Tolu, time to earn your money. Where's your betting predictions going at St James's Park?
Oof, I'm so sorry. I like Enzo Maresca a lot, but I don't think that Newcastle are going to lose 2 Premier League games on the bounce. And I think that time where Derby defeat must have really hurt. I heard the comments from the captain, Bruno Guimaraes. And when he is fired up, Newcastle are fired up. And I think he's going to be really fired up for this one. Chelsea have a horrible record against Newcastle. Like I said, they've lost the last 4. Chelsea have lost the last 4 away games at Newcastle. And I think it's going to continue. I think that Newcastle will be very intense against this Chelsea team. I think intensity will be the key here. And I think with the St. James's crowd bouncing, I just feel like Newcastle United will edge this one. It's a very long shot. I probably would say there's a lot of value on a Newcastle home win. A little far-fetched because Chelsea are playing well at the moment. But I'd go a Newcastle win. And I think there will be goals here. Because of just how open this one will be, I would go both teams to score. Because both teams to score, Newcastle United to win, and then I probably go Newcastle to win and over 2.5 goals.
Top insight, as always, Tolu. Thanks for your time this week.
Thank you very much, Dan.